You're listening to What She Grows Through, a podcast dedicated to empower and uplift Black women to grow their self-worth. I'm your host, Chanel Amir, one of many dope Black women, creating a community for us to pour into and align with one another, uncovering our true feelings from sexuality to self-love, to begin growing through life and evolving into our best authentic selves. Let's get started. What's up, beautiful? It's your girl back again with episode 6 of What She Grows Through podcast. Before we get into our topic for today, I want to make you aware that I am still pregnant. Yes, going through it. I am 41 weeks today. Oh my God, shaking my head. This is crazy. This little girl, she does not want to come out. So your girl is currently struggling. Yes, I said that right. Struggling with a C. That being said, let's dig into this bomb-ass topic that I have for today. Oh my God, I'm so excited to share these gems with you. So, the quote for today is, "When my purpose embraces my passion, I give birth to my destiny." Whew, let's go over that again. Let me just tell you that one more time, all right? When my purpose embraces my passion, I give birth to my destiny. Fire, right? I heard that from a group that I was in on Clubhouse. I'm sure by now you've heard about that app. It's basically like a big conference call for iPhone users right now, discussing like whatever topics in different groups, and when utilized right, it can be very beneficial to get, other people's perspectives on things. So with that quote being said, I want to talk about aligning with your purpose and how you can begin to do that. Now, this is so big for me right now in my life, and by beginning to utilize some of these gems, I recognize the change that it just has in my life, So the word purpose, man, is just such a huge word. Like it's a big word. Now, I wouldn't be me if I didn't drop the definition, me, Google. But the dictionary tells us purpose is the reason something exists, an intended end, aim, or goal. Purpose creates meaning, offers a sense of direction, and helps guide our paths, behaviors, and our goals when applied to our lives. I think that was a good definition, actually. But let's dig deep into figuring out and understanding what this means. So trying to explain that a little bit, people, they often believe that, our external factors weigh in on what our purpose is. Like, we get caught up in the details. We think we have to have like all these fancy degrees. We have to have like high power positions in society to begin living in our purpose. And, we look at other people and we almost want to mirror ourselves to them. Like, what job do I have to do? Or what job do I have to have in order to get this? But what we forget to realize, though, is we have to begin searching from within what our purpose is, Purpose is just, it's such a big and like loaded word, like it's huge. We love to like take things and put them in specific categories. So, but doing this, it doesn't really allow what it is that we took, putting in that category, what we took to actually flow and get received, if that if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. But when I think of purpose, I think of how I show up, like my actions, because honestly, purpose can change, It's about, how do you show up? How do you decide to show up when you wake up in the morning? Like, what were your first thoughts when you first open your eyes? Think about your interactions with others, like that one coworker that forever wants to talk to you to death before you even want to get your day started, or that homeless person at the light that you avoid eye contact with. I know I do that, but that's your purpose. Now, I'm not saying that you have to give them money every time you see someone with a sign asking for help. I'm telling you to just be aware of your thoughts in those moments. It's like, your purpose isn't what you do, it's who you are. To be here on this earth, it just bringing value and having an impact in some way. Your spirit, your core, your essence. I think you get what I'm trying to say. But by doing this, we're able to form an alignment with who we are. And this goes to our whole being, like mind, body, soul, and spirit, We're all of this at the same time, like all four of those things, all day, every day. So how do we allow these things into us, acknowledge and give them the necessary attention and begin taking action to them to, make our lives become purposeful, showing up every day in that essence and representation of who I am, who we are, who you are. This shit is deep, for real. But that's why it's so intriguing to me, and I wanted to share with you, that way you can begin to ask yourself these questions, therefore finding what your purpose is. Because girl, I'm telling you, that's the real flex right there. I'm telling you. Now, I really do believe that purpose is, every day just striving to be the best person that you can be. Every day to be in the highest and best version of yourself. And as you work on you and how you can be better in that journey, that's purpose, being the best mother that you can be. And this is me talking, being the best mother that I can be, the best partner, the best business owner, whatever it may be. If you're showing up and in that moment, you're being grateful, realizing that, you may not be at the exact place that you want to be in your life, but someone else may actually become impacted by you and where you are in that life, in your life. You're there for a reason, being the best version of you becomes purpose. And that in itself, more things will be revealed to you, more doors will be open to you, and in that's purpose. The journey is in itself, it becomes purpose. Where we are right in this moment, because through our life experiences, we're taking that to the next place in our lives. So with that being said, I just wanted to throw out some ways that you can start identifying and begin finding your own purpose. So think about some good core values that are important to you personally and in this moment, because these can change. These values are what you stand by. Is it freedom? Is it fulfillment? Whatever these are to you, it should help be your inner guidance as you navigate and move throughout this path of finding your purpose. So that when opportunities are given to you, you can decipher if they are in alignment to you and your values. And as you begin to have ideas that may be different, and what I mean by this is, you may be called to use your purpose in different ways. Again, it should match these values and what's important to you in your life and aligning with those values. Otherwise, you'll be easily influenced and persuaded, I would take on things that wouldn't bring me fulfillment. So I had to utilize my values. And a few of those are, fulfillment. A few of those for me are freedom. And that can be career-wise, entrepreneur, or just having the freedom to be myself as well. Like being able to come as me without questions from others. Another one for me is just fulfillment. That feeling of being satisfied, that I'm leaving my mark somehow in some way, and that kind of goes with passion. But those are just a few of mine. But I want you to come up with some core values of your own, because this is so important to understanding your purpose and moving on to beginning to align with those. So another way of, starting to find your purpose is allowing yourself the ability to try new things, allowing yourself to mess up. Another podcast that I listened to explains this as failing forward, and taking on new tasks that may not necessarily be your purpose, and in that process you grow, and by growing that reveals your strength, what she grows through. But in that, you can begin to grow new branches that you only could have gotten by trial and error, that bloomed into wisdom and just getting used to being uncomfortable, Another thing to think about is affirmations. Now, I talked about this in a previous episode, but to relate it to what we're talking about today is affirming is building a solid ground within that subconscious, within your spirit, Consciously, we tend to just go through with our lives daily, but we forget to realize that, like, the music that we listen to impacts us. Like, all of this can misalign us as individuals, like our habits, what our actions are. All this creates our purpose. So we have to start within and start taking time for ourselves, because we don't want to lose the person who actually has to go out in their purpose to help these other people, So a lot of what you need to do is take time for yourself, being with yourself, understanding yourself, finding that voice that tells you what you need to do, where you need to go, and that inner voice will tell you your purpose. I say purpose a lot, but that's the topic for today, purpose. So we just gonna keep going. But a lot of us, we don't do this, and it can now direct you, because at the end of the day, no one can align you with who you are, but I can use my platform to talk about it and direct you to begin searching within yourself to figure out who you are. Now, another way that you can begin finding your purpose is self-worth. Now, I talked about this definitely in a previous episode, but understanding those values that you came up with. We all were chosen. We all were chosen to be here for a reason. I know there's an old saying that, if you don't know who you are, people will tell you who you are. you have to continue to walk in purpose and align with those values that are important to you. Now, another thing is like confidence. Like, this is important because based on who you are and your image and what you're called to be, so many of us, we live below our potential. Like, we're doing the bare minimum. We're doing average stuff with average people, like, because we're underestimating who we are and our capabilities. And we're building, like, you're building your confidence on things like relationships or jobs or marriages or even compliments. And when that stuff goes, you start to lose that because you're losing your confidence. So what we really need to do is we have to build it up. We have to build this sense of boldness of who you are, which helps in living a more purpose-driven life. Like, confidence is rooted in you, just so that you can walk in any room, because, you know, no one is greater or less than. We're all equal. And we got to operate off of that. Like, that confidence in that mindset, like that mind flow, if you have that, doors will continue to be open to you. And that's where your power comes from. When you know who you are, you operate differently. And in that space, your purpose is revealed. Another tip that you can start doing by trying to find your purpose is beginning to question this word of identity. Like, this is deep because it's like, even from birth, like, they identified us by our externals, you know, male versus female, black versus white. You know, we go to school, you in first grade, you in third grade, you know, you have this disorder. It's just, how can we start beginning to pull back power to identify who we are? Therefore, we can start walking in our true purpose. If you don't know who you are, your purpose cannot live, so that, you know, you need to ask these questions and understanding who you are and what your values are. It's a constant journey. We can't let these titles and accolades like define us, because we don't want to lose our identity to these things. And as we continue to grow, that constant reminder, you know, almost like it's humbling ourselves and refocusing that, you know, all these external things that we acquired, they don't identify us. That can come and go, but your identity, who you are, that's your core. Like, that's your core value. You got to figure out who we are to determine what our purpose really is. You can't get caught up in who you think you are. You got to know. So it's almost like, how can you make a difference? Start looking into this question. Like, get clarity and understanding on what you want to do. Figure out what your purpose is, then show up and become positive to help others. I know last year, 2020, a lot of people, just including me, you know, became more empathetic and just started realizing that authenticity, authenticity is key. How can we take these negative things that are happening all around us and start beginning to think more positively? Like, each one of us can make a difference, but like, how can we start coming together? Another tip of trying to find your purpose is, you know, start focusing on your being. And when I say this, I mean, we live in this hustle culture that's like so focused on just getting things done. Like, everything is just so quick, so much that, you know, we almost forget to show up. And we believe that doing things are going to get us the things that we want, and then we'll be the person that we aspire to be. But it's kind of the opposite. We show up. How we show up is going to influence the results that we get, which will empower us to take the necessary actions to get what it is we actually want. Like, it's all rooted in our being. Like, all of it is just rooted, you know? So it's just like almost where every day, just take a list, like a to-do list and a to-be list. Like, so you can begin to judge your days on how you show up versus what you're actually accomplishing. And I do this personally. And it's definitely like so beneficial. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just, your to-do list, but also your to-be list. Like, how do you want to show up for today? Now, finding your purpose, you gotta use non-judgment. Like, no purpose is too big or too small. And based on how your purpose is being reflected in that current mood, like, you gotta follow the breadcrumbs, I should say. Whoever it is that you look up to, if it's God or if it's the universe, they're always leaving you hints. And it could be as simple as, what qualities you're using when you're feeling your best, when you're feeling energized. Just pay attention to who you're being and not what you're doing. And also pay attention to those qualities that other people admire in you, but you often overlook. It's important to tune in and to pay attention to these hints that are being given to you. Now, another tip of finding your purpose, this is a really good one, and it's defining your why. And this one is just so important. It's like, we don't know why we're here, why we're doing this. It's kind of like showing up. You have to reevaluate your vision. Make sure that it's clear. Have passion. Like, there's a saying my passion is my power. And this goes into the quote that I chose for today. When my purpose embraces my passion, I give birth to my destiny. Like, that's so deep. Also, when finding your purpose, you gotta practice it. Like, practice makes perfect. We get so accustomed to like what we're good at, we forget to practice so that we can continue to be great at it. Now, those are a lot, but that's a good start at identifying and finding your purpose. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is, things that'll keep us from reaching or aligning with our power, which we really need to be mindful about. Now, one of these things is people. So watch the company that you keep. People in general who lower your emotions or your energy when you find yourself, not being your best. Like, watch who you're around. Who's not feeding into your vision or your purpose. You got to be aware of who you let in your space, who's around you, like who you spend your time with. Like, and it doesn't have to be toxic people, but they might not be at the level that you're at. So they might not be helping you get to that next level, not adding to you. You need to be around people who continue to add to you. Now, another thing that can keep us from reaching and aligning with our purpose is our thoughts. And I definitely talked about this in a previous episode about the locus of control, but our thinking can stop us from aligning with our purpose. Like, the negativity and the idea that you're less than, or you're not worthy, or you're not capable. It even can go down to the imposter syndrome. I know you heard about that. But it's all about the mindset, like, that stops us, like, and creates this gap of who we truly are. And we have to be able to overcome that and continue to create strategies so that we can overcome that, because our thoughts are a powerful thing. Now, another thing that can get in the way is the environment. Our life experiences is where we learn, where we grow, and where we're pushed. So the key in moving forward in alignment is It's our life experiences that we learn to grow so that you can continue to put yourself in the right environments where you're able to do these things and continue to get that needed push. Now, another thing, and this is a big one, is fear. Like, this is huge. We're afraid people are going to discover who we truly are, that maybe we're not worthy. Maybe we're going to reveal our true selves. We're often bullied by society. So it's almost like they deny who we are because we tend to be influenced by influencers. Now, looking this up, I think there's about almost 8 billion people on this earth. God made 8 billion different people, and we're all different. We're all here for a reason, and someone needs to hear you as you. So in thinking of that, you have to rise up and speak with your voice, stand with your feet. You're here on purpose, so you got to walk in your purpose. Our thoughts, sometimes are based in fear, but we got to figure out how we can overcome this, because honestly, purpose, love, that casts all fear. But you got to figure out, what is love? How can you love yourself? How can you love others? Especially if you don't love yourself. We got to learn to do for others the way that you will want them to do for you. Isn't that the golden rule? And become the person that you would want in your life. I'm personally becoming the woman that I would have wanted to look up to as a little girl. The woman that today I could be proud of. The woman that years from now I can appreciate and just smile at. And love is just the key to everything. Now, I might just be a Pisces, and that's why I think that way, but I strongly believe that. And I'm not talking about the touchy feely love. I'm talking about that internal, deep love, the God, the universe kind of love. It's key. Loving yourself, the answer to everything. It always goes back to your core, your values, knowing who you are, loving who you are. And in learning who you are, you begin to find that different type of love. This shit is wild. The more inner reflection and self-discovery that you do, it develops a greater understanding of you, if that makes sense. We just have to have that confidence that's rooted in us, that will provide that foundation of who we are. So just wrapping everything up, we really are powerful. We just have to allow ourselves the flexibility to be able to share our gifts, especially in different seasons. It's almost as we're aligning to something more or higher than ourselves. I mean, I know I feel this way. When you find your purpose, I know you heard people say, what you love to do, even for free, you'll never have to work another day in your life. And it's I just took that leap of faith, and I tried not to worry too much about how exactly things would get done. But, I'm here on this platform for a reason. You're here listening to me for a reason. And when we change our minds, we change our reality. And in that, so many good habits can begin to form. I know for me, by changing how I view the world and finding and understanding my purpose, I found my true self, and that gives my purpose power. I know who I am, and I'm confidently walking in that. We were given all these things, a mind, a body, a soul, a spirit. It's time that we begin to get comfortable with who that person is and how you decide to show up. Life in itself, the journey in itself is purpose. And of course, it'll take time. Life is a marathon. I will always say that. But it's so important to find your true, authentic self and align with what's aligned with you. And that goes back to the quote that I chose for today. I'm going to say it again. When my purpose embraces my passion, I give birth to my destiny. Woo! I feel like that deserves a drops mic, and you just say boom with the cool glasses on. Like I was on fire tonight. But I don't know. It must be these pregnancy hormones or something, because girl, gems. Like this was something. Thank you for tuning into episode 6 of the What She Grows Through podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate and review by giving me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and recommend the show to someone that you feel can benefit from all these topics. You can follow me on both IG and Facebook at What She Grows Through. I look forward to talking with you next week. Until then.